because they're different than what came in the normal flow of your offense during the regular season.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that, and what's the adjustment you need to make in order to try to get your shooters in more rhythm? Because obviously the shooting hasn't been what you're used to.
Yeah, you give the Warriors a lot of credit. They upped their physicality in Game 3, and with that, our freedom of movement wasn't quite what it has been, and so the looks we're getting, are wide open looks at times. I mean, Malik had one on the left wing. Nobody even closed out to him. Trey had a couple. Keegan had a couple. Obviously, Fox had some because they're going underneath, and as well as Davion. But everybody knows we like to play the DHO game, and and we, especially Kevin and Keegan, get a lot off of Domas. But they're doing a great job of being physical and blowing those DHOs up. So we have to figure out other ways to try to get looks for our guys in situations like that, and or go other directions with it. If something's not working, you can't sit there and try to hammer a square peg into a circle. Is that right? Round hole. Okay. Yeah. So.
But in terms of the shooting numbers overall, just
Yeah.
when you have a team that's shot as well as it did throughout the regular season, what's your approach to just addressing maybe the mental side of shooters? Like, don't press, don't get more shots up. Like, how do you talk to your team about that?
No, keep shooting it. And we hesitated a handful of times, and I've told him even before the playoffs, I said, we call them hezzies, no hezzies, and if you hezzy or hesitate when you're open, you're usually going to get a worse look at it the next time around. So we want to let that thing fly, and we'll live with the results. We're a good shooting team. These guys can shoot. And then at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter if it comes off of a DHO or not. If they feel they're the slightest bit open, just let it fly. And we're confident that they're going to make shots. And if they don't, we'll live with the results, because there are other things we can do to give ourselves a chance to win, because we didn't shoot well in Game 1 or Game 2.
They seem to control so much of the aspect of the game last night.
Yeah.
I wonder, I don't know if there's a measure tool you have to do this, but how out of character did it seem, did you guys feel that you were in that game when you were back at it?
I mean, they did exactly what they're supposed to do. They're a championship team, and they had their backs against the wall, and they know how tough it would have been to go down 3-0, not just from the standpoint that they got to win 4 in a row, but there's a psychological aspect, too, that you have to deal with if you go down 3-0. So they were desperate, and their desperation showed on both sides of the ball for them. And we haven't experienced that, and we weren't desperate. We watching the game, you could see it. We didn't play our best basketball, and it ultimately led to us losing the game. We feel like we can play better. It's not there's not a lot that we need. There's not too much that we need to overanalyze when looking at this thing, because we feel like we have a pretty solid game plan. You talk about an adjustment here, an adjustment there, and you go out and you try to be the more physical team, whether it's with ball pressure or it's boxing out or it's setting screens, or even when you catch the ball, you got to be strong with it, because they're coming, and they had a lot of strips like they did during the regular season. So we have to handle those situations when it comes to physicality more than anything else.
When you show them film, when you show your team film, like what are some of the things that you try to point out to them, especially when the game is real physical?
Well, I mean, exactly what I said. It's we got to box out. We got to put bodies on bodies, and we didn't do a good job with that last night. A guy like Loon, and not just one person box him out, but sometimes you got to have a second guy box him out. DiVincenzo was really good on the glass. Kuminga was really good on the glass, and so you show those things. You show how they, when Malik turns the corner, everybody is collapsing, and they're looking to take away the pocket to Domas. And when Domas catches in the pocket, everybody collapses, So you show, those types of things when it comes to physicality. You show our lack of ball pressure throughout, which we which we didn't do most of the game. We didn't have the ball pressure that we did in game 1 and game 2. But then you also show when we do have good ball pressure, so they can kind of see the difference. And you also show your spacing, and pace. You show when we're not playing fast and our spacing is not great as opposed to when it is. Even you'll show times when you miss shots, if your spacing is great, you can tell. It's just if your spacing and pace are good, but you miss a shot, I mean, you could, you're watching, you could tell that it feels good just to miss a shot. But when your spacing's not good, your pace isn't good by everybody, you could tell it helps your team become disjointed, which is what the Warriors want us to be. So everything that we talk about, from physicality to space and the pace.
Mike, you mentioned a hesitation on the perimeter. I'm curious with Sabonis when they're playing off of him.
Yeah.
And he has that open look in the mid-range. I know that's not necessarily his game all the time, but would you like him to take those shots sometimes?
Yeah, no, he's got Sabonis he's one of our all-stars. He and Foxy basically had a green light to take any shot that they feel like they need to take. And they're predominantly playing off from when he's, we run an action called backside, and everybody keeps saying, Mike, you know more about them than you, but I'm gonna die. They know exactly what backside is. They know exactly what we're trying to get out of backside, and that's one of Sabonis and Kevin Huerter's favorite plays, and they're really efficient in it. They've been really efficient in it throughout the course of the year. They're doing a good job defending it, and but when that happens, he's outside the 3-point line, so he's a little further than the short jumper that you're talking about. But still, he can, he and Foxy have the green light to feel the game and make plays for themselves and others at any time. That's what those guys do. But we, in the same breath, have to continue trying to put them in position to make it a little bit easier or a little bit more enticing for him to go make a play.
How do you do that, Mike? What's the adjustment to get Domas going, given what they're doing against him?
I mean, if I say it, then Steve's probably listening to this, and I should just call Steve instead of Ted. But we're going to make some adjustments. What the playoffs are about. We're going to make some adjustments. They're making some adjustments, but ultimately, at the end of the day, I truly believe when it comes to playoff games, because they know everything about us and they're trying to take away our strengths, and we're trying to do the same with them. Comes down to who can execute it for a longer period of time, who can be more physical for a longer period of time, and then for us, if we could play with the pace that we want to play with for as close to 48 minutes and continue to let that thing fly as soon as we see a little bit of daylight. It comes down to those few things.
How do you feel you guys defended Steph last night? Obviously, he's going to get
Yeah.
abused to a certain extent, but I would have to think as ahead of the snake, he's a priority.
We didn't do a good job, and I say it because in the crazy part, I thought we did a great job in game 2, and he had 28. When you sit back and you think about it, you're like, oh man, we did a great job. That dude had 28 though, but we felt like he really had to work for his shots, and we were conscious of him all the time, and we relaxed a little too much in game 3. There were times like there was a loose ball, and we all stood and kind of watched to see who was going to get the loose ball. And when the ball's not in Steph's hands, that's when it's on, and he moved. And then by the time they picked it up, and they went to pass, we were like, oh, I forgot about Steph, and by that it's too late. Those dagger threes really, really, really kill you. And in game 1 and game 2, I thought our sense of urgency and more so our awareness when Steph didn't have the ball was a lot better. And again, he's more than a Hall of Famer. He absolutely changed the game, for everybody, the game of basketball for everybody, and you have to give him that much respect, especially on the offense end of the floor at all times. And if you think you can guard him and take a breath, you're in trouble. We're in trouble.
Like, you talked about how much your teams know each other. How much is this then a physical, or not a physical game, but a mental game in the playoffs?
It's a mental game from the standpoint that you have to have a mental toughness to sustain a level of physicality throughout 48 minutes. And also you have to have a mental toughness or wherewithal to be able to stay poised, because there's a lot of holding and grabbing and bumping and no calls and all that other stuff. And we weren't great in that area last night neither. There were a couple of times we're looking at the ref, we're doing this, and they're running down getting layups or open threes. So the mental aspect plays into it quite a bit, because it's more so, can you stay present for 48 minutes doing what you need to do to get a win.
Your rotations have been pretty consistent over the course of the year. It looked like Steve changed his rotation a little bit, in particular with Steph Curry. How much do you adjust your rotations based on matchups, or just kind of stick to what you do and force the other team to adjust?
I'd be curious because his rotations with Steph were pretty consistent in game 1 and game 2, and I'd be curious as to see if his rotations were changed last night because 2 of their top 8 players were out. When 2 of your top 8 players are out, now if we were missing, hypothetically, Harrison Barnes and then Trey Lyles, our rotation would change too. So that's part of it. At the end of the day, we're going to play who we feel we need to, and our rotations have changed, because I hate chasing lineups, but Davion comes in at weird times, and usually those weird times means that Steph's on the floor. So at the end of the day, we both have changed rotations, but I'm not sure if he did it because he had 2 of his top 8 guys out, or if he did it to try to mix it up and go against certain lineups that we have, but we obviously have changed ours to try to match Davion at times up with Steph.
Mike,
More guys.
I was going to say, back to the shooting.
Yeah.
The balance of, this is supposed to be a strength of ours, we got to start hitting shots, with, man, this is just a fun, almost like laughing at the point, because this team is far more people and their shots just aren't falling. How do you balance that aspect as a coach?
Again, I'm confident in our guys now. Excuse me. Now, this is a different shot right now than what it was game 45 in the regular season. Your level of intensity has increased, and so you're exerting a ton more effort that you ain't used to. And this is part of when I used to say, well, this guy hadn't played really in the playoffs, had a significant role. Guys might have been in the playoffs, but they weren't counted on to really make shots at a high level and to do this and that at a high level, and to do it against the NBA champions to get to the next round. That's to make the playoffs, and we can make the playoffs and get swept through it. You don't grow as much, but to try to do all those things against the NBA champions while trying to advance takes a little getting used to, and you need reps at it. And like I said, it takes a little getting used to, because you're exerting more energy physically, you're exerting more energy mentally, because you got to be locked into the game plan because they're that good, and then you're getting hit. You're getting grabbed. There's somebody always in your face, and like when you do break free, it's kind of like, and there's a little bit inside all of us, it's human, where if you're finally free, maybe you're not going to be able to knock that shot down like you would if you were more in rhythm all the time, because these guys are trying to get us out of our rhythm. So having said all that, we got to go through it, and we got to find a way. I 100% believe in all of our guys shooting the ball, and we're going to keep telling them to let it fly. They have to.
Mike, was there ever a point when you were on the Warriors are you noticing that they're making a conscious effort to maybe try to slow the game down, particularly last night?
Well, I thought they did a little bit, just from the standpoint, again, they needed Steph and Clay in particular, and even Wiggs. They need those guys out on the floor as long as they could, and so to get into a rat race and try to outpace us was something that probably wouldn't be in their best interest, and not to say that they can't play with anybody, but when they're completely healthy, they want to play fast as well. At the end of the day, we can't worry about how they play because we've played a lot of teams, even during the regular season. I know it's different. We played a lot of teams that where their pace isn't at a high level, where they want to slow it down, and it doesn't. We still need to get out and run. I thought in the second half we did a better job of it. In the first half, we kind of plodded through this and through that at times, and it showed with only 4 fast break points. I think we ended up with, 12 or 14 or something like that, maybe even a little higher, because our pace picked up a little bit in the second half. So we have to try to keep it here.
But is it out of character for them, though, to be sort of the team that might want to play a little bit more methodically, given their history and what they've sort of been known for?
No, I think they believe that they're cutting and screening and DHOs and all that. All that stuff's hard to guard, and also if they're playing fast, Loon's not down the floor to offensive rebound if they miss a shot, and so I think they're just trying to take whatever they can get, Wiggs he ran out, got a layup. I think Jordan Poole got a layup. Steph pushed it and shot a quick 3 and got fouled. So they're a mature team that's going to try to take what the defense gives them without trying to force the issue too much. And one of the things that that they know that they had to get better at, which they did last night, is turning the ball over. And sometimes if you play too fast, you can have a lot of turnovers, and they know that they need to win the turnover game as well as the offensive rebounding game against us, which is what they did last night.
Anything else? Thanks, everyone.
Thank y'all. Thank you, guys.